in some part, you need to be less data-driven. Because a lot of times you have a lot of data, but you lack even more data. Because you just get the data from where you can measure. We decided to invest more up in the funnel in those kind of format, which is much harder to measure. We have learned is that the higher up in the funnel we invest, the better payback we get. But you need to believe in it, and you need to see it, because it takes some time before you get that payback back. Hello, Berlin. I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I'm coming from a small village in Sweden called Dala, and I think it's almost more people in the room that it's living in that city. My name is Rickard Lyko. I've been driving the Lyko company for 16 years. It's a family company, so my grandfather, my mother, and my father, and my sisters are hairdressers. So I'm the black sheep of the family, and I didn't have the grades to become a hairdresser, so I focused on the economics instead. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we have been driving the company since we started, and see if you can learn anything from that. We have been focusing and trying to reach and engage a younger consumer, as you saw on the video, when we have the openings and all the events and so on. Do I know how to engage the younger consumer? I have no idea. But I can tell you a little bit what we are doing and what we are trying to figure out. We are aiming to being the starting point of beauty. And if you feel a little bit on those words, to be the starting point on beauty, what does it really mean? One of our focus KPI is to lower the conversion. For every year since back in time, we have got lower conversion every year. And we tried to figure out a way to get it even lower. And why is that? Is that how all of you operating? If you want to be the starting point, you don't want the traffic to come to you and just purchase. Because if they just come to purchase, you're on the wrong position. You want them to come to get experience, to learn about beauty. Doesn't mean that we want to sell less, but we want more traffic. And we want the traffic before they have choose what to buy. So if you go into our app, you will not meet an e-commerce. You will meet a beauty network or community where you're sharing experience of beauty products. Because that is what we want the customer to see, because they don't want to come into our app every day to buy beauty products. You don't buy that much, or some maybe do, but most don't. So what have we done so far? We have been growing since 2008. I was still licking envelopes, writing by hand, and we've been growing profitable ever since. And we are in 8 countries right now, and we are having 30 stores in Sweden, Norway, and Finland, but looking to expand those in more countries. And we have a warehouse here in Berlin, but also in Vansbro, in that small village. So 10% of everyone working in that area works at the warehouse, which is great. We are also producing beauty products. We have 2 facilities where we are producing products, but most of the business is selling other products. So 80% of the business is e-commerce, and about 20% is physical retail, which we believe a lot in going forward as well. So 2033, we deliver about 6.2 million orders, and we are about 1,000 employees in 13 different offices. So we have local office in each country, because we know we really believe in localize and to understand the market better. But when we started back in 2011, we went up with the first TV commercial. Me and 2 people more in the company were recording that by ourselves, because we didn't have any money, and we didn't really have anything to put into that. So we were recording that, and it works, but it works better when we did it with a production company a few years later. But it was a way to get into those next level, because we had a problem as an e-commerce. All e-commerce looks the same, so it's really hard to say that is an e-commerce and that is a bigger e-commerce. So we needed to find a way to show that we are bigger and doing something different and building a brand in a different way. Then we merged with another company back in 2014 that had about 30 stores. So back then when we merged, we had similar turnover in physical retail and online. And why did we do that? What I realized after that merge, as we as an e-commerce would never be able to do retail good. But I also realized as a retailer, you will almost never be able to do e-commerce good because it's a totally different way to driving those channels. A lot of people coming into the retail store back then, they said, I need a shampoo. And then you can help them to decide what kind of shampoo to buy. And if you go into an e-commerce and you say, I need a shampoo, it's quite hard because we have 1,000 difference. So we're not that great at guiding the customer. Sure, we have done a lot about that last year, but we're never coming as good as we're doing in the physical meeting. So that is a different way to drive those channels, and that is why we're believing in those channels, and that's also the position we want to drive in the long run in a digital format. Because if you end up in the position that you're coming to our place to decide what to buy, we have a totally different possibility to affect that and going into and driving those brands that we want to. And we have done that a lot, and also as you have seen with the movie from the opening, I mean, that is also a way to driving something else that we are really hard time to drive in a digital format, and we cannot do that as good as we can in the physical store. But we have kept on growing. We are a listed company now, but still the family owns 50.1%. And we are aiming to reaching 10 billion Swedish crown. We are about 3 billion plus now in Swedish crown. So we think there is a great potential still to do more of what we're doing, and we're still growing quite much in our market in Sweden and Norway, but now looking into how to do that in a European context. And as you saw, it was the opening of the store in Stockholm, where we have a big flagship, about 1,800 square meters. I was waking up 5 in the morning, the day we were going to open, and I saw there was some buzz on TikTok. So I went to the store. This is the 11 of 11, Singles Day, November. So it's about 5 to 10 minus degrees in Stockholm. And when I'm coming down there, it's about 1 kilometer left to the stores. There are laying young kids sleeping. They have been there the whole night just for the opening of the store. And then we say retail is not, the physical retail is not for the young consumer. They want to do everything digital. They do a lot digital, but they still want experience that you can bring in the physical store. And I think it's such an important thing to bring in and remember. And what do you need to do to be able to invest in those things? I think in some part you need to be less data-driven. Because a lot of times you have a lot of data, but you lack even more data. Because you just get the data from where you can measure. We decided a long time ago, back in 2011, to take money down in the funnel and move it up. To invest more up in the funnel in those kind of format, which is much harder to measure. Because if I'm just going to measure, I will end up placing everything down in the funnel, because then I know, I see, and I can count on what I'm investing in. But what we have learned is that the higher up in the funnel we invest, the better payback we get. But you need to believe in it, and you need to see it, because it takes some time before you get that payback back. And if you're looking to how our brand has developed in the Nordic countries, we opened up Norway a few years back, and Finland and Denmark and so on. That's why they are coming after, but it's going faster and faster. And we are trying to invest in that, because we know when we're getting top of mind, we are in the beauty industry, so it's products that you use up. And if you think about buying something, buying shoes or buying beauty products or something else, it's quite easy to name one retailer. Quite easy to name another one, and maybe the third one, but the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh is quite hard to come up, and you need to think a lot on those. That is why we want to take the position as number 1 or 2 in the countries where we are. And right now, we are the fastest growing company or brand in Sweden, measuring on what's growing the fastest. And that is, I think, believing in doing a little bit different thing, and believing in building it for the long run, and really engage with the younger customers, because that is where we see we can enter the market in a different way. Because when I look into Germany, and I guess there are other people going to talk after me, they are doing a great job. They are so much better than we are on pricing, on delivering, on conversion, and so on. So we must do something else. And I think that is what we're going to try to figure out, how to engage the younger consumer, reach out in a different way, and talk in a different way. We still need to be relevant on deliverings and conversion and pricing. But what we have done in Sweden as well is that we're displaying all our competitors' prices on the product page. So if you, as a consumer, come in, you can look at what all our competitors have the price on that product. And almost always, we are not the cheapest one. So if you want to buy the products the cheapest way, you will go somewhere else. And that is the position that we are trying to build. We want the consumer to come to us because of other things. We still need to be relevant, so we cannot be too expensive, but we don't need to be the most price cutters in the market. And we also see that we need to add value in between the brands and the customers, because that is what we're operating. We don't think that anyone cares about Lyko. I mean, if we don't do a good job, it's better to go directly to the brands. Go direct to consumer, then we don't add any value. So what we are searching for is friction, where we can add technology and scale. And then a lot of times, in our case, it is helping the brands to build brands. Because we know there are coming a lot of traffic on products that just on price, but most of the products they're buying from us is brands. Because if you want to buy the cheapest shampoo, you should go somewhere else. Then you have supermarket. If you just want a clean hair, it's better to buy Head and Shoulder. Don't buy the expensive products that we are selling. Because when you're buying them, you are looking for a brand and you're looking for something else. And that is where we are operating. And that is also what we're knowing that the consumer wants from us. And that is what we are investing in. And that is why we are investing in community, in building the experience in online, in the app and on e-commerce, but also in the stores with event to drive something else. And looking forward, what we need to be even better on is to understand the customers. But we also need to drive that in a profitable way, because we have been profitable since start, and I aim to keep on being that. So even when we don't say we look that much on the data, we do it for a good purpose, because we know that it's the most profitable way to drive the business, not to invest in the wrong part of the channels. And then we think about the local collaboration. We don't really understand what that means, but what we do understand is the customers here is a totally different story than it is in Sweden. That's why we believe in building strong local office in all the markets where we are operating. And we believe in open physical store in all the markets that we are operating in. Because we understand, and when I'm in Germany, I totally understand that I don't understand. So I need to figure out how to manage that, and that is why we are focusing to building a really strong local team to be able to get into this German market. And I promise you, we will be the biggest beauty player in the German market, but it will take some time. But I'm in for the long run. I just done 16 years. I'm looking in for at least 40 more. So let's go, and thank you.
So you maxed out the 50 minutes. That's perfectly fine. But thanks for being so honest and upfront. And I was just wondering, like, we just agreed on we have to do a podcast afterwards.
Yeah.
But what's the master plan for Germany? You already have a team here, right? So
I think the master plan is that we really don't know. So we need to get into the market, see how it works. I mean, we have learned a lot, and we have an infrastructure with logistics and all the technology and so on. But we are also very humble that we don't understand the market. So we need to learn about the customer and learn how to operate this market. And we are in for the long run, because it will take time. It's a huge market, really competitive. And yeah, there are great players here already.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it seems you're running an online and an offline strategy, so that's also the playbook for Germany, or?
Yeah, definitely, but driving it in a different way, because the things that driving profitability in the e-commerce is a totally different story in the physical stores. You need to drive them and operate them differently to optimize those channels, and that's what we're trying to do, and figure out which brands that really want to work with us to doing that, and then we can choose the assortment in a totally different way in a physical store.
Okay. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.